Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome.
I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what's going on.
Welcome to
I don't know what you're doing.
this episode of Love, Life, and Random Musings with the Mr. and the Mrs. Today we're going to talk about saving money. I decided this is like our, instead of a TED Talk, it's our 10 p.m. talk.
Oh, Lord.
I'm hyped up because I just had a Wingstop. It makes me
You're
happy.
something.
Anyways, thank you so much for being here and or for watching us later, watching our randomness. We'll try to keep it short. We were going to talk about saving money because this has come up a lot in discussions with different folks that we know, different people. And then I think the other thing too, you and I have commented and some of our friends too about people who always say they're struggling, but then they're buying new costumes to go to that next convention.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
So the first thing is I want everybody to understand, since we are talking about this, we are far from rich. We're not even well off. We often have paycheck to paycheck moments. We have struggles of where's the next bit of money going to come to pay a bill or something like that. And you may think some of the stuff we talk about because of having an entire Chewbacca wall, having a movie theater that we're setting up, having a wall of movies, and all these different things make us hypocritical. But I want you to understand something is it's about planning and knowing when not to buy something and knowing when I don't need that. And also 90% of saving money is patience and sacrifice.
And discipline.
We both grew up, well, I know I grew up fairly poor. You probably grew up middle class, but lower middle class.
Not great, but I mean, the good thing is both of my parents had good jobs.
Both my parents worked. My dad worked at Kraft for 40 years. My mom was, worked in an insurance place forever as like data entry kind of stuff. So we weren't poor to the point that we were on the streets, but we had a little 800 square foot house. I was an only child, so we always ate, but it was always the fried bolognas and the hamburger helpers, and it's stuff like that. But I didn't have all the fancy new clothes or the fancy new toys, or I had stuff. My parents sacrificed a lot of stuff to make sure I had certain things. But when we got married, both of us were at the bottom end.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. So, how we started.
Yeah, so we
it was rough, guys.
Yeah, we were raised out. Before we got married, I had been divorced. I had 2 kids. I was living in a house that I had purchased with a friend, and you were still living at home. So your first experience of living on your own was when we got married.
Yeah, because I went to. So here's my thing. This is the other thing I think too. If we go way back that far, I was still at home because I was going to school.
College.
I was going to college, night college, as my friend would say, because
some people may think you're so young looking that they think you might have been in high school still.
I was working a full-time 40-plus hour week job and going to college at night. And I paid my way through college every semester. I did the payment plan.
You paid for everything.
I have no student loans. I have none of that. So that's the one good thing I can say. I have no student loan debt or high interest debt of that because I paid my way. Was it fun? No, because I didn't have a full college experience. I was working full-time, but I was working full-time in the area I got my degree in.
Yeah.
So that was a cool thing to me. So
yes,
that's why I was still at home.
I didn't do the college thing. I did for a little bit junior college, but I just wasn't a school person.
Yeah.
So my dad always told me, go to school, get a job, pick something. But my dad worked in a factory.
Yeah.
So
he probably wanted you to go there, right?
Well, we tried to, but at the time they wouldn't hire immediate family members. It wasn't until a couple of years later that anybody could get a job there, which sucked because they paid really good. But I'm kind of glad because I think I probably would have got stuck there.
Yeah.
Nothing against people that worked there. My dad, like I said, had a great job, great career there. He's retired now. Happy he's gone from Kraft. But it put me on a whole different path.
Correct. Yeah. So when we got married, I did a horrible thing in that I used a credit card to pay for our wedding.
Yeah, because we were paying on that for years.
Yes, I was.
We're not paying on it now, are we?
No, that card's gone. But we're going to talk about paying off credit card debt. I want to talk about that in a separate thing because that's
what I want to kind of set the tone to where I was at because I got married way younger, too young. I got married too young the first time. I got married too young the second time too. No, I got married too young the first time. Neither one of us should have been married either to them, but we were able to, when we got divorced, use a computer program. It wasn't, I didn't get in debt or any kind of financial issue because of the divorce, but we didn't have money. She didn't have that great of a job. I was doing maintenance. I was a janitor essentially at a church. And then I'd gotten a job because of my janitor job. I got a job as customer service at a battery something company, which then turned into the job that the cable company place I worked at, and kind of tiered up to different things. But I lived many times, I bought a house with a friend of mine, but I had the kids. And so there were many times that the electricity was shut off, the water was shut off, trying to pay bills, trying to, didn't have anything. I know this sounds stupid, but it got bad enough that I had to stop collecting comics. I had to stop buying stuff. I had to stop doing stuff that I like to do so I could live and be able to take care of my kids and pay our bills. And my roommate didn't have any of those things. He had a good job. And so a lot of times he bought all of our groceries. He would give me his credit card, go to the store, and I would just shop. He would give me 3 or 4 things he wanted, and everything else was whatever I'm going to buy and make for dinners and that kind of stuff. So that's how it was like for.
And I think, for
13 years,
I think. And I think that's one of the things that people have a hard time now is they don't want to give up their extras and what they like. And so there's many times that you and I see people, well, first of all, people posting their whole life on Facebook, but they're like, oh, I don't have money to go to this comic book convention. Okay, well then you're not going. You don't need to buy a new costume. You're not going.
And it sucks. Don't get me wrong. It sucks.
It does.
I've been through many a times, even now, that I'll tell her, it's like, oh, so-and-so is going to be here. I've always wanted to meet them. We really shouldn't do this right now. And a lot of times I have the money to go.
Yeah.
But I'm having to think bigger picture of, at the risk of sounding bougie, if I want to buy a new lightsaber, because I collect lightsabers and they're not cheap, I have to think, I need to save this money now for a lightsaber that may come out in 5 months. So do I want this autograph, or do I want this convention, or do I want this graphic novel, or do I wait? So I make sure I have that money waiting.
Yeah. Because
one of the big things with money is part of it's a perception of what people think you have.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've had numerous people that assumed we were rich or very well off, but it's because we place ourselves in a place that they don't see the work we're doing behind the scenes. And we had I wish I remembered the guy's name. My boss at the old job I used to have for years, who was a very close friend at the time. We're still friends. We just don't talk anymore. But he gave us a video while we're on vacation. A CD of this guy talking about financials.
Oh yeah, I remember. We watched that when we were in Florida or something.
Yeah, no, we were driving. I think that.
It was one of those book on tape things.
Yeah, so we listened to the entire thing.
It's when we did that full.
It was like Rich Man, Poor Man, or something like that. And while that didn't save us per se,
but it started to get you thinking.
And I do contribute a lot of. I'm going to mention his name is Mike. Despite issues we've had in the last few years, not really, it's silly, but I contribute a lot of my growth in finances and saving and perception to him, because he gave me a different outlook. He's very well off. He had run a successful company. I worked out with him for years, and he gave me a different direction. I was like, oh, that makes more sense, and started building my business that I have now. And then you've always had an eye on work, a career, and you've built up through different things to make a lot more money.
Yeah.
At the same time, we still struggle with bills. We still struggle with decisions some days. But years ago, there'd be days where we sit down and said, okay, we need to get gas. How's this going to work?
Yeah.
And our favorite thing was to go to the gas station at the same time, knowing that our credit card, or our debit card
had so much
like
in the bank.
$30 in the bank.
We were like, okay, here we go.
We would hit them both at the same time.
You're on that side of the pump, and I'm like, okay, ready, go.
We're like the people setting off, launching the nuclear missile.
It was horrible.
Like, and
go.
And then that way it would clear it. We could both fill up our tanks. Yes, it put our account in the negative,
but you had to have gas. We've struggled. And then I think our favorite things too, back when we were first starting out, was the change. You've always done such. I don't deal with cash, but you've always had cash, and you save all your change. in a cup or somewhere.
It's always in the car or in a cup.
And then we bring all the change together and have this big bag of change. We're like, okay, we're going to the coin store.
And what's funny is it became a game.
It did. It was fun.
Where it was a game that was a necessity. Like sometimes it's the only way we were going to eat.
That's the only way we could buy food.
And sometimes it was the only way we're going to pay our electric bills. How much change can we put together? And we didn't outwardly tell people we had these issues. Like my kids never knew we had these kind of issues. As far as my kids know.
Remember when we got married and I started buying groceries, he's like, whoa, look at all this food now that Drew lives here.
Yeah, it was like there was 2 incomes now. And at that time I still had a regular job too.
Yeah, you're working in office.
But it got to where like we would go cash the change in, and then it became guessing game. Okay, how much do you think it was? Up or down? And and then we did the same thing when I started reviewing movies and stuff. I have this, you don't see it in the camera. You can kind of see it back here on this side over here, but this goes the length of the room, right? Floor to ceiling movies. It's impressive. You're like, wow, look at all this stuff. I didn't buy half of this. Running the movie review website, they send me tons of stuff. So this isn't, yes, we bought a ton of this. We bought
a lot.
But this isn't a wall of cash spent. Maybe half of it is cash spent, half of it is stuff that was sent to me for review.
Yeah.
But for all the stuff we have, there's 5 times more than this that has come into this house.
Yeah.
Because I always took it and sold it to half-price books.
Yeah, we saw old books that we don't need, or that I would get books sometimes from my old job with speakers that would come and give books out, and I'm like, we're selling books. We're selling
movies. Still do it to this day.
We'll
sit down sometimes and go, okay, let's go through the screen, because sometimes you keep stuff you don't need with the intent, like I'm going to watch that one of these. No, darn well you're never watch that movie. So we go through it periodically to create space. The difference now, and I just mentioned this to you the other day, is we always had this box. I have this one box. It's a cardboard box. I tape the lids up top so it's a bigger, taller box so we can fit more Blu-rays and DVDs. We take them to half-price books. We sell them. We haven't looked at that box in months. It used to be always like, hey, I got some stuff to sell. I got a full box sitting in there that we haven't looked at. And that's the blessing I see.
Yeah.
We have a cup sitting downstairs with a bunch of change in. Forgot it was there. My mentality of being rich or wealthy per se has never been have the fancier car, the bigger house, the bunch of money in the bank. My wealth was being able to go out to eat, go pick up food, and not have to check the bank first. So like if it doesn't have to be a rich meal, like we were bad enough at sometimes that we couldn't go to Taco Bell without checking the bank first.
Yeah.
And then, we went through a phase of dollar store. The upside to growing up with nothing or very little is how to survive when times are rough.
I was going to talk about that too. That's another way to save money is go dollar store grocery shopping. And you're like, ugh. But they actually have some decent stuff, man.
But also be smart. Don't buy stuff that you think you're getting a deal when you can buy the same thing at a Walmart for $1.
That's true. So you got to
That's the trick of it. Because a lot of it is the same price both places.
You got to check your ounces and your package sizes.
And a lot of times you'll go to the dollar store and you'll buy a lot more stuff thinking you're saving money. In reality, you're spending the same as you would at the regular store.
Yeah. So, and then coupons. If you're a coupon person, do it. I know.
I tell you what, I've never been poor enough that I would bother coupons. They irritate me.
Sometimes. Back in the day,
I just wouldn't buy it. I just say, I'll just be hungry today.
But then so we talked about the change cups. So save all your change. Another thing I do is I sign up for all of the
lawsuit things.
The lawsuit things, yeah.
We have checks for $4, $20 come in this house all the time.
I do that. I sign up for all of the rewards program. Like I got a free sandwich last week. I signed up for all the things where I can possibly get a free thing in the future. The other thing, though, that I think you and I have talked about, in addition to like, maybe I'm not going to this convention or maybe I'm not buying the new costume. Do you really need to buy your $10 Starbucks every day? Because that's $10 right there.
And I've told people, too, it's not about giving up having a coffee. It's getting a different coffee somewhere else. It's maybe not as much. Instead of spending, and we don't drink coffee. So
my parents swear about McDonald's.
Yeah, we don't drink coffee at all.
No, so we're saving money.
That's right. We don't smoke. We don't drink coffee, but we don't. And so we may be exaggerating the price. So before we start getting a hate message,
I don't know.
It's if you get a mocha latte chocolate latte grande, whatever, we don't know any of that.
It just seems like a lot.
But if you say, man, I'm broke, but you're holding this cup that you spent, say, $8 on, why not spend $4 on a smaller one? Or go somewhere that's cheaper and spend that, and then you have that extra money. Where the mistake most people make is when they save the money, they look at it and spend it on something else.
Yeah, no, you got to set it aside. That's the other thing. So we've had people that give us money to hold money for them. Like my child, she's doing really good. She's just bringing me money, or she zells me something, and I'm holding it to the side because I'm okay with like saving money. I forget money's there.
Yeah.
So I do several methods.
And it's not because we have money. It's because because she doesn't remember anything anyway.
No. So here's the thing. So
you have to diversify your funds.
So I have several methods of saying, and I'll talk about how to do. The other thing I want to mention is clothes shopping at the thrift store, at garage sales, at flea markets. Some of my shoes that I like that I got at that flea market one time. I don't mind wearing garage sale clothes or thrift shop clothes because especially if you go to the nice thrift shops and the nice fancy party times, you can get name brand stuff for really cheap.
It's also how you put it together. So
correct.
like for instance, one of your vices are purses.
Yes.
And you've got a lot of very nice purses.
I save so
much.
But
if you think about, okay, you spend, I'm not going to say how much because then people would be like, these people. But say you spend a couple $100 on a purse, right? But you have that nice thing to go with the things you only spent 15,
correct.
20 bucks
yes,
on the entire rest of your outfit.
Correct. And if I go to any store, like if I go to a regular store for clothes, I only buy things that are on clearance and I do not spend more than $20 per item. So every single piece of clothing I have is not more than $20 per piece. And you're going to be like, what? But it's true.
You look.
No, I think everything I have is cute. It's about your accessories.
Yeah, it's just like I am not a fashionista by any means. I look like this all the time.
But I have.
So I can tell you now, I've never spent more than $20
for your whole thing. No, but that's my rule. That's my rule about shopping, and people are like, eh. But that's how I keep my budget low, and I go for the clearance rack, and I don't limit myself to just my sizes. I'll go look at the maternity size, plus size, children's, men clothes. I look at all the sections, but I also can sew, so I can retailer things.
So here's an important side note before you continue on buying your clothes and whatever you buy.
Yeah, I want to talk about.
She doesn't buy stuff like this because I tell her she needs to shop cheaper because I want her to save money. That's been her thing. Money. Like I wear the same pair of shoes for 4 years.
Oh my gosh. Your shoes have holes in them.
No, they do not. My shoes are all perfectly fine.
Remember those tennis shoes that had holes in
them? Well, that was different. I didn't know they had a hole in the bottom.
That had holes in them?
Those just kind of didn't buy any new ones. And I'm not walking around looking like a homeless person, I don't think. But I'm barefooted 90% of the time. My job is as a martial arts instructor, I'm barefooted 90% of the time. So, but you have a ton of shoes. I have one pair of tennis shoes, one pair of dress shoes. I currently have like one other workout pair of shoes and 3 or 4 slides, flip-flops, whatever you want to call them. But the thing is if you're working hard and you're saving the money, at some point you need to make sure you're enjoying the work.
Yes, what you work for.
So like I bring up her purses because that's something she loves. She doesn't buy them a ton. It's not like she has a problem.
I might.
No, but anytime she tries to ask me stuff as if I have a say so. She makes the most money in this house. But I always try to make sure she understands is you don't need to ask me because you're busting your butt, so you deserve the reward. When we moved into the house we're in now, the cars that we have now, all of that was because all these things made it a little harder financially sometimes. But I want to make sure that she feels all her hard work, there's something for it. And that's when you have to give up dumb things so you can have that bigger thing to recognize your status of where you were. I made a post when we moved into this house of the house I grew up in and the house I'm in now. The house I grew up in could fit inside this house.
I never knew it could.
And we're renting the house. I'll tell you the truth. We're not buying this house.
I wouldn't buy a house anyway.
We could probably.
That's a whole other situation.
We would not be able to afford a house the size we have on our income and the amount of money we have. But with renting it, we can afford it. But then you save the income because I'm not paying for repairs.
Correct.
So it's that double-edged sword
Depends on
benefit.
What your goal is in life.
So I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent.
No, that's okay.
But again, it's always important to make sure why are you saving?
Correct.
And at some point enjoy the work you did to get there.
Correct. We'll talk about buying a house and renting and another thing because that's a whole other ordeal.
Yeah.
So
and what we do, I know some of you what works for us may not work for you.
It may not.
This is just our own journey if it helps other people, that's kind of what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're not trying to tell you that we're some financial
gurus.
Geniuses because we're far from it.
Yeah.
But
So
do you have a Godzilla like
I
this?
wanted to talk about the actual saving of money and how not to use what you're trying to put aside. So there's a couple of methods. So one thing we have done is we do have a separate savings account that does not have a debit card and does not have an ATM. You would have to physically get your butt out of the car, walk inside, talk to a person to get money out. So I purposely picked a bank that made it really difficult for us to get money out once we put it in there. So I can direct deposit money, transfer money into that account, but getting it out is really difficult. Like it's a pain. Like, I don't even want to go
Did you do
drive.
this already?
I think so.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I'll check it. So yeah, so that's one thing is like make it difficult to get the money back. If you think you have a hard time saving and you might be tempted to dip into the money, maybe give it to somebody else that'll hold it for you. So like I mentioned, our child gives us money. We're all saving to go on a trip next year to Disney World. Sorry. So here's the other thing. Like you said, you need to know what is your ultimate goal, how much is it going to cost, and then start saving the money now.
And we made a goal for ourselves. We took many a vacation like everybody else where you go on this fun trip, you have a great time, then you come home and then you're miserable for 2 months as you struggle to pay the bills because you spent money that you shouldn't have been
all the money
spending.
you had.
And I don't look down on people that do that because
We've done
it.
We did
Sometimes
it
that's your only option, but that's where patience comes in. If you can't afford to go this year, don't go this year.
Yeah.
And I know there's the mentality of life is too short. What if I don't get to go next year? You may not. But
staycation.
You know what we did a few years back. We were blessed in a situation. I think it was I got a small inheritance. My grandmother died. I think that's what it was. That money got us through COVID, so it was gone.
Thank God.
And we were hoping to use it for a vacation.
We barely made.
But because of COVID, also we took advantage of the time of COVID to revamp everything.
What we would have used for vacation, we saved it.
Yeah, we looked to see, hey, we're not missing Target. We don't need to go here. We don't need to buy these things.
I don't know why Target is such that vortex. You go in for one thing and you come with 20.
Yeah, and we realized, we used that year to restructure our lives. And we now have a set thing of we plan vacations years in advance.
Yeah, so like this trip with the kids, we've been planning for 2 years. We've all been saving for 2 years.
And if we dip into it, we pay it back.
You gotta pay it back.
If we have a specific, not for the kids, but for me and her, any trip we go on, we have a very specific amount of spending money that we say we're going to take. Yeah. And if it's not in the realm of that spending money, we don't take the trip. Go. And it's more than what we need. We also don't go with the intent of spending that money.
No.
We go so that we can enjoy a vacation. And again, we don't have to look. If I see something really stupid that I want to buy,
a lightsaber.
Yeah, I can just buy it, and it doesn't affect us when we get home.
Correct. So it's hard. It is hard to save money. I agree, but you've got to figure out various methods. So put the money in the bank, give it to somebody you trust. Or the other thing I do is I have cash envelopes for different things. So that's a whole other method. So I have an envelope for each child. I have an envelope for our fund for this trip. I have a fund for the next trip. And in my head, the other thing I've done is, which you kind of make fun of me, but I have like a vision board. And so I have trips that I want to take for like the next 3 years, and I have it on the wall. So I know
right now
this
we're
is what I'm saving for.
Yeah,
it's like I'm saving for this. This is what I'm saving for. So that reinforces like, okay, I'm going to put this money hidden in this drawer, and I'm not going to touch it because this is what I'm saving for.
And going by the idea of willingness to give it up, something up.
It's hard.
2025 is a trip that's really more for me than you.
Yeah,
but you really want to go on it too.
We're going to try.
But the first thing I told her when we decided to move in this house, and another scenario that may change some of the financial stuff, I said, then cancel 2025. It would kill me.
It'd be a staycation.
It's one of those big things, but I'm like, I would rather miss that time, as amazing as it would be, and we're still hoping to make it work, to be able to live now in the place I want to be at, because that's going to be 1 week.
Yeah. This
is going to be every day.
Yeah.
So it's the willingness ahead of time. And I tell her she's still fighting to make it happen. I'm down to make it happen. I'll go. I'll be like, hell yeah, let's still go. But I want her to understand, if it's too stressful, if it can't do it, cancel it. Let's move on. And then we've even talked about, okay, we may give up something. We may not be able to travel like we've done in the last couple of years anymore. But we can do a different weekend trip. We can take a road trip, something like that. Yeah. But you're talking about different monies. Like I have a different, and I don't remember who it was. It was some celebrity. I heard them talking about it, and I'd already been kind of doing a version of it. But try to have at least 4 bank accounts or money saving spots. So, like for myself, I have my business account, I have PayPal account,
Mm-hmm.
I have a cash cup, and then we have or something else. Oh, then we have a regular bank account, the savings account, then you have your envelope. So there's avenues of money in a lot of places. And I have 2 cups that I classify as my cash money, right? One of them is anytime I get money, if I don't need gas, if I have money in my bank account for my business account, which uses to pay for my gas and things because back and forth to classes, anything I need. If I have money in that account, that means I don't really need this cash.
Yeah.
Because I can buy it with what's in the account if I need something. So if I get $20, the $20 goes in that cup, unless hey we need gas or something like okay here we don't want to spend that extra money, take the cash. So I have one cup that's just generic cash. It's for whatever goes in there. Right now that cup is empty because we spent it on some other stuff that we planned for. I have another cup that has recently started because we're trying to populate the theater room that we're putting together. And we're buying chairs for it, but we can only buy 1 chair here, 1 chair there.
Buy one
it
chair
may
at a
take us
time.
2 years to get everything we want for that room.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's okay.
What we did first is I saved up enough money to buy 2 chairs because there's 2 people that live here. And a good example is I saved the money up. I was going to buy the 2 chairs, and then shipping was insane.
So we're like,
So it was going to be another $200 more than what I budgeted for. Down. So instead of saying because we had the money, so instead of saying, let's do it, we're like, nope, back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
I found 2 other chairs, maybe not as elaborate as what we were going to get. They're great chairs. They work great. Found this thing to match it. Spent
free shipping,
$150 less than I planned to spend in the first place. And then that extra money went right back in the fund to buy the next chair or so. Mm-hmm. So you constantly cycle. So like my obsession with these lightsabers that I buy, I save money every time cash comes in with the intent of maybe one will come out. Be ready for when one comes out. Just have
the money when it's ready. Yeah.
But then if emergency happens, that money is still available to pay for something. Mm-hmm. If she says, I had to pay the bills, we're doing fine, but I need to get gas and I really don't. Here, take some gas money. Mm-hmm. But that's the lightsaber money. It will wait because guess what? If a lightsaber comes out and I can't buy it, then I'm not buying it.
Yeah. But we always keep saving. So that's the other thing is practice saving even if you have nothing to save for. I'm sure we have something to save for. So I would start something very simple. Can you save $1 every day?
My grandfather, he saved, I think it was $5 for every bit of money that came into his hand.
He always
put $5 out of it.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know where he put it.
I would start with like $1 a day. Once you get comfortable with that, then try to go $2 a day, and then just up it, so that every time you're saving something.
Yeah, and sometimes I know there's some people that don't have a stream of cash that comes in all the time. So look at what am I wasting money on? It's gonna suck because especially if you're a single parent. You're barely being able to pay your bills. You're working your butt off, and it feels like, my money comes in and my money goes out. And that's probably the case. But can you spend a little bit less on the type of groceries you're buying? Not buy, I know that sucks, but not buy name brand toilet paper. Not buy the name brand bread. Buy the cheap bread for a couple of weeks.
I can't do that.
But we
did. We used to buy, what's the girl Sunbeam? Because that's what they sell at Dollar Tree.
Because
I like me some $6 Mrs. Bears. I'm going to be honest.
I think the issue is, and I've had the same mentality for a long time, is that $2 isn't going to help me.
Yeah, it does.
But if you do the right thing with that $2, it will help you.
Yeah.
Because when you save $2 here and $2 there, and you do that for a week, you have $20 somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, and that $20 can be the thing that buys your next meal. That $20 can be the thing that gets you gas so you can go to your job so you can have more money. You know, but and also you have to look at some point of not the woe is me, is how do you better your situation? You know, I know people have their dream jobs and people have their things they want to do. I know we know a lot of people that work in places that help special needs people or old people or charity things, and they're awesome. but does that pay your bills? And as much as it sucks, sometimes you got to walk away from that stuff that is your calling so that you can get out of the hole that you're staying in just to do this. And I admire people that put their life off to the side so they can help other people or do other things to help people.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're doing it at the detriment of your own life,
Yeah.
you're just going to be in a deeper hole for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Especially if you have kids and things like this, that's a big financial burden.
Yeah. I think that's a whole other thing for me.
Right.
About just your job. So, okay, there was one other thing I was going to say about saving money, and that is, do you actually have a budget and know how much it costs for you to live? Not to live fancy and have all these wonderful things, but how much does it actually cost you to buy food and gas and pay your bills? And are you actually like budgeting and you know how much money you're going to make and how much you're going to spend? And there should be some money left over. If every time you're spending more than what you have, there's a problem.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing.
And like I get frustrated because you'll get a raise or something, or you got a raise in the past. No, why are we in the same boat and you got a raise? So we had to step back and figure, what are we doing wrong? Because you're making more money.
Sometimes I'd put more in the 401k.
I know that, but I mean, but sometimes we're like, we get excited because you're going to be out of this problem, man. We're going to be good now. We're like, why do we have the same amount of money?
More money, more taxes.
Yep, you got that. You also have, you sometimes go out to eat more than you don't think about it.
That's the other thing. Stop eating out. I know it sucks. Like we only eat out twice a week. Well, 3 times.
Well, here's the thing:
and we're gonna have to cut back.
There's a balance of it. Is either look at your grocery bill in comparative to your dining out bill.
Correct.
If you're somebody that doesn't cook,
okay,
and doesn't need to do this stuff, then don't spend a bunch of money on groceries. Save the money. You can buy you a cheap lunch, or whatever.
Or
every
maybe
day.
sign up for one of those box things. Like you can do that for $60.
We did that for
$60
a couple
for
of
2
years.
weeks. Yeah, and make it work.
But it's everybody's life is different. Your circumstance is different.
But you need to have a budget. You need to know what you're spending. If you don't have a handle on what you're spending, it's going to be really hard to save. Yeah. I can help you if you need help. I can send you a spreadsheet.
She is an accountant.
This is what I do for life.
And that's not even what she does full time for a living.
No.
But
that's the side.
And like, I'll be the first to tell you, I have collecting issues.
Yes, you do. Right? You need to stop.
But I save for everything. Like all my nonsense that I buy does not come out of our life budget. It's my money that I save. But I also still speak with her. It's not my money like you can't have any.
No.
It's like, so with my business.
Like, do you need any?
With my business, I have 3 different paychecks that come in every month from 3 different cities, right? 2 of those paychecks go to our account as our payroll for our bills, everything else. Then her paycheck goes on our account.
Pay for your car.
She has her own credit card. She has her own stuff. Like, I honestly have no idea how much money is on our bank account. I have no idea if our bills are paid. I have to trust her.
Our bills are paid. Always. I always pay her bills.
She doesn't know how much money's in my bank account. But if she says, well, we have this, whatever, I'm like, what do you need? How much you need? Mm-hmm. Or I'll say, I'll buy us dinner. Let's go this and this. And we figure the balance out. Like we Wingstop. Right,
love Wingstop.
That's like our 1 day a week kind of thing. We have Wingstop.
It's exactly $33. If I can put that in my budget, I can tell you it's $33.
If I know she's been stressed and saying, I don't know, we have this, I need queso. So the first thing I say, do you need me to buy it?
I need tacos.
Now, if I don't have the money to buy it, I'll tell you. I was like, I don't know what to tell you. I ain't got no money. Yeah. But because it's a business account, I also have try to keep a minimum amount of money in the account, so I can't just blow it all. Right? But I budget in, like I'll be the first to tell you, I spend too much money on my comics and my stuff each week.
You need to cut back.
But because I know I'm doing that now, I stopped going to the Target and Walmart and buying random crap with my Star Wars spending. I stopped buying figures. I stopped buying a bunch of random extra stuff. And I focus on just vintage stuff if I happen to find it, which I haven't bought anything in over a year and a half. My lightsabers, it's maybe 2-3 a year. In the random statues that I buy. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the big crazy statues that people see me posting, I know I've had people like, man, what are you
saving?
Most of them were on layaway plans.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm talking, layaway.
That's right. Like
payment plan.
Anything I got from a sideshow, I have a gigantic Van Damme statue, I have a giant Bolo statue, I have this big Ahsoka, Darth Maul. All of those were payment plans. I paid years on them. So, and I never overextended my payment plans. I never had more than one.
Right. One at a time.
for about 2 years, I had an ongoing payment plan thing because I'd buy something, I'd pay. I think it was like 60 to 80 a month. I made sure I could budget that in. I started paying that. Just as it was fixing to be paid off, something else was getting released. I'm like, dang it, man.
Keep
I was
paying.
going to be done,
Payment
but
plan.
I want it. So I paid that off, immediately pre-ordered the next one, and I just rolled it over. After a while, I'm like, okay, we need more money for this. I can't afford to do this anymore. So I said, I'm not buying anything else. So I stopped. I got the last thing. Haven't bought any of that stuff since.
Yeah.
You know, so it's the willingness to give up. Like there's been many statues, many things that we looked at that I'll show her. I'm like, oh, look at this. I don't show her because I think she cares. I show her in hopes that she'll tell me to buy it.
I'm not gonna tell you that.
And sometimes she does. If it's
something really cool.
If it's something really cool or something that's for this collection, she's like, oh yeah, you need to get that. If I show some random character I care about, she goes, but do you really need that?
No, but your payment plans are your friends. And what you need to make sure, though, is that you're doing an interest-free payment plan. So
and that you pay them off.
Yeah, like even some of my purses, I've been able to do like pay in 4, and it's 4 equal payments, but they're interest-free payments. That's the key. And like our trips to Disney and all that, we're doing the payment plan. You put $200 down, and you can take up to 2. Like I think you can book 18 months in advance, and so you start. But see, like this trip with the kids, we've been planning for 2 years, so it's like we've been saving money and like planning ahead like this. Like take the total, divide it by the 2 years. This is how much it is, plus the plane tickets. Like you got to budget everything in, plus food, plus this, and you got to think big.
And we don't go anywhere without anything that's possible to prepay is not already paid.
Prepay.
So that again, like we did a Hawaii trip back in August.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, that was a dream come true. I've always wanted to go to Hawaii.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for years, and
payment plan.
We didn't spend that much money while we were there.
We really didn't.
We spent the money we planned. Like you bought a ukulele that you wanted. That was probably the biggest money we spent.
That was like $100 and something.
Everything else was just food.
Yeah.
Like man, I guess my budget for shaved ice was pretty big.
Yes, he got a giant shaved ice every single day.
It was $9 a day.
That's ridiculous. Anyways.
But all the excursions and things like that, you'd already prepaid for everything.
Prepaid everything.
So by the time we land or step foot in whatever vacation we're on, unless you couldn't pay for in advance, it's paid for.
It's already been paid for.
So then our spending money is just money.
Food and like T-shirts and souvenirs.
Because that's the other thing that I think that a lot of people mess up. Because I know I for sure used to struggle with this when I was younger, dealing with vacations and stuff. Bad planning. I'd go and I'd have money. I'd be all planned, but then I'd forget. Oh, you got to pay for this. You got to pay for this.
We got to pay for the dogs.
Yeah, we got to pay for the dogs boarding. So our spending money that we plan includes the boarding for the dogs.
These dang dogs costing us money.
We're very silly. I don't know how this actually started, but we have our money count vacation time. So every single day.
Yes, at the end of every day. So we take a certain amount in cash.
Yeah.
And we have a certain amount in the bank account. So I have a separate bank account for travel so that we don't have the situation when we were younger. We'd go on vacation, spend all the money we had, came back, couldn't pay bills. So I have my bill account separate. I have a vacation account, and that's all. We put the money in that vacation account. That's the only money we can spend, and plus our cash.
Yeah.
So as we go around, at the end of every night, we come back.
We sit down on the bed before we do anything else.
We're doing cash.
Before we do anything else.
We
take all of our cash out. We put it into a pile. We count up what we have. Then we redistribute it.
Yeah, make it even again.
Distribute. And so we try to make sure both people have the same amount of cash every day.
Yeah.
That way it doesn't feel like somebody's got more than the other. And it's not
even though you probably spend it on lightsabers.
Yeah, it's not even an argument that we have. It's just let's make sure everybody has the same amount.
Even.
And so like we'll go to the store, she'll buy something, then I'll buy something, then she'll buy it. And then at the end of the day we rebook. But it also keeps you on your toes. You're like, okay, we only have this much left. And we're like, we got to pay for the dog still. Do we have enough to pay for that? Make sure they take that out. So, and
I try to pay for the dogs when I drop them off.
Yeah,
and they're like, no, you got to pay at the end. I'm like, let me pay deposit.
But I'll never forget the first time that this started, that we were able to, not that we were able to, but that we planned so good that not only would we buy anything that we actually wanted, we were actually stuck in an emergency. And this was Chicago in Celebration.
Oh my gosh.
And it was snowing and all the flights started getting canceled. And we were like, we weren't even stressed out about it. We were like, well.
It was just inconvenient because we were sharing a room with someone and they were checking out.
So we were like, okay, well, let's find us another room.
We have nowhere to stay.
Yeah,
Our
but
flight's
we were
canceled.
like, yeah, our flights got
Okay.
canceled. So we were like, you know what? It started clearing up, even though the flights had already been canceled at that point. So we were like, screw it, let's rent a car. We rented a car and just drove home.
We just drove home.
The same thing happened when we were December last year.
Snowmageddon 2 years ago.
Well, no, December last year when the Southwestern
Oh,
crisis
the
happened.
Southwest flights during Christmas. Remember they didn't have enough people.
We
or whatever?
flew out
on Southwest.
on Southwest. We saw people sitting in the airport, but nobody knew what was going on yet.
Mm-hmm.
We landed, and the news had happened that Southwest had exploded.
Remember, our flight was delayed because somebody didn't show up, and so
Yeah,
they were
so-
struggling
but
to find people.
We flew out, we landed, everything was fine when we left, so we thought. We landed, and it was like Southwest cancels all their flights. And we're like, we don't know if we're going to be able to get home. But because we had budgeted our money, we're like, let's not take a chance. Cancel your Southwest flight. We'll figure out the room. Like, buy another flight. So we
just
bought
bought
another flight. Then we were a little concerned. Are we going to have enough money to spend now? But because we budget a certain amount that's always over what we spend, we didn't have a single problem with a thing. We got back home. Everything was fine. 5 years before that, we would have been screwed.
We would have been stranded.
We would have been like, I don't know what we're going to do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, again, you have to plan it, think about it, think what your options are. If you're going to go, say, a Disney trip, is it cheaper for you to drive or fly?
Mm-hmm.
You know, flying's better.
Depends.
I think it is cheaper.
In the long run, maybe.
But
maybe that's not your thing.
Can you afford to buy a flight? If you can't, but you can chip in with gas with other people or however you're getting there. But when you look at that too, you have to look at, this can be so much cheaper because I'm driving. But now you're paying for gas, you're paying for extra food, you're paying for hotel and lodging, whatever you have to do along the way.
2 days from here
Could total up what you spend on a flight for 2 hours.
It could be cheaper, especially if you do. Even if you did like what's that really cheap one where you have to pay for everything in your bag?
Well, I don't know if they're even cheap. Spirit.
It's not even cheaper because you pay for the bag.
Yeah.
The one last thing before we go, because we're going a little bit long. You mentioned wandering Target and Walmart and buying stuff. Here's my recommendation. Don't do it. Order your groceries online. Do pickup. Do not go in the store. Because when you start going into that store and you start wandering, that's like cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. I am so grateful. We started doing grocery pickup even before COVID.
Yeah.
And I'm glad because that avoids the temptation, too, of buying things you really don't need. What happened? Is it not shooting out?
No, I didn't realize. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but in the infinite wisdom of this technology, the fist actually rotates on the device. I thought I broke it. But
anyway, so yeah, do grocery pickup so that you're not tempted to buy things you don't need.
Like a Godzilla.
Anyways. Those are some little things about saving money. I do want next time maybe we can talk about like what to do if you have a lot of credit cards, how to pay off your credit cards, because there's several methods for that.
Yeah, don't do what my good friend did for years. He had a credit card to pay off his other credit card.
Yeah, don't do that.
And he lived in forever credit card debt.
And then I also want to talk about your job. Like you mentioned, maybe you need to switch jobs. People don't
it's hard too, man.
But we can talk about, maybe that's the next show, jobs and credit cards.
Here's what I want to leave everybody with is just work at it. Sit down.
Save one thing.
Yeah, sit down periodically and look and try to figure out
$20
what's going wrong in your life. I also do what I call my mental inventory almost on a daily basis. I struggle with, I'm not like clinically depressed, but I struggle with just frustration and sometimes getting a little down on myself, or especially in our situation, because she makes the most money in the house. She is the reason we have most of what we have. My job, I work a ton.
You work a lot.
Just my business is not a gigantic money making business. I'm helping seniors.
So you're doing what you love.
Teaching people to fight. Yeah, and I'm only doing what I love because
of me.
She's allowed it to be able to
happen.
Yeah,
we gotta talk about that.
But I have guilt about that sometimes.
Oh,
and I'll ask her, do you need me to get a regular job? And then she's been frustrated and angry, not at me, but like, okay, you're going to have to get a regular job. Oh. But then she also steps back and looks at all the things.
You would be so miserable.
Well, there's that, but forget that. I'm miserable and married. But there's also the mentality of what would we lose if we change things?
Oh my gosh.
Like I do all her bank runs, I do post office runs, I clean the house, I do a lot of things because I know she doesn't have time to help her out. And if I had a regular full-time job,
you wouldn't be able to do that. She
would be doing that and make herself even more stressed. That's not a defense for myself. It's just the way it is. So we would have to figure that out too.
Yeah, that'd be hard.
So my mental inventory is walking around the house Look at everything that is a success. I didn't have this yesterday. That's awesome. 3 years ago, I might not have been able to afford to buy this stupid Godzilla. The house we live in, the cars we have, whatever it is, just being thankful what you have.
Mm-hmm.
Also, 5 years difference, are you in a better place? If you're not, you did something wrong.
Wow, that's harsh.
It is,
but
I mean, it's true.
If you're just like staying here, or if you're going down, you should be going up and up and up.
If you're not better tomorrow than you were today, you wasted your day.
It should be going
and
up.
I tell people all the time, I know I'm rambling again, but in 2020, as horrible as that year was,
the pandemic was good for us financially.
We
did not spend
we had a great
anything.
year on 2020. I know people lost jobs. I know sadness and all that. I'm not talking about that. We re-budget. And I tell people the amount of people that were too busy pouting and whining. And I'm not talking about people that died or lost their jobs. And I'm talking about the people that just like, oh, I miss people. Oh, and didn't take the time to do something to better themselves. Whether it's write that book, exercise, spend more time with your family, whatever it was, you wasted time.
Yeah. And our success came out of struggle because you couldn't work at all, so there's no money there. My salary got cut, so there was
the job you were in at the time looked
yeah.
like it was going down.
My salary was cut way down,
so and it was right at the time, and she was supposed to be getting elevated to a big raise at a big job position,
and so that didn't happen. So we were forced to like reassess and like.
And we didn't know if we were going to lose the house, if we were going to have to give up a car, like rough. A lot of people, But again, we stepped back.
We used everything we had, but then out of that, it's like we're going to start rebuilding. So we did.
But again, when you get to tomorrow, what did you do to make yourself better today? Did you eat right today? Like, did you eat better today than you did yesterday? Were you nicer to people than you were yesterday? It's not always about financials. It's about just
that's about how you feel.
Be a better person tomorrow than you were today.
Did you learn something new today?
Because karma's a bitch.
It'll come back.
You treat people right, good things happen to you.
It's a circle of life, people.
And ask for help. And I'm not saying always like. I'm not going to get into my opinions of Indiegogos and Kickstarters and stuff for financial aid, because I know sometimes people are desperate. They don't think they have a choice. And I'm not against those. But I feel like too many people rely on that now. And they don't fall on their ass.
I feel like medical bills are the last thing I would pay off first.
Oh, no. I had a ton of medical bills. Oh, screw y'all, ain't getting any money from me.
Medical bills, then after the IRS, I'd pay off credit cards first, the high interest credit card. We'll talk about that. That's a whole separate thing.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to go off on tangent, but
we'll talk about that next time.
Just find out how to make sure that you're making yourself happy, but you're taking care of yourself, and ask somebody for help. Like, look, we had one of our friends. She came to me. She's like, I'm really trying to save money, but I can't save money. I said, why can't you? And we were back and forth. And I keep trying, like, no, don't do this. Stop doing that. And she's telling me, ironically, with her, it wasn't even a Starbucks, but it was some sort of a drink. I'm like, did you need that drink? There's however much you spent right there that you could have saved. You could have drank water. It's better for you anyway, And as I drink my Wingstop beverage. But eventually I said, why don't you, how much money you want to save right now? So I think she said like $200. That's all right. Start giving me money. I'll save it for you. And I'm not giving any of it to you until you hit 200. And then at 200, use the 200 for something you wanted to use it for, or something to reward yourself for the success. But then make sure you're still saving more after that. Don't make that a one-time thing. It is what it is.
All right. Well, that's it, friends. That's our little talk.
If you have questions, if you think we're stupid and you disagree with everything we said, then
that's okay too.
That's fine. Again, I have Godzilla.
If you want to know how to do a Disney trip, let me know.
How to do what?
How to do a Disney trip.
Oh yeah.
And
you don't necessarily need these planning things.
Yeah, I know people pay for the planners.
Just call Disney. What is it?
Just call the Disney line. They'll help you.
Yeah, she set it all up to them. We've never once used these.
I don't pay anybody. I do it on my own planning.
Yeah.
And I have it planned. Like.
That's right.
And we're like, I can tell you how to do the whole thing. Anyways, we'll talk to you later. Peace be with you.
I got to figure out how to buy food tomorrow.